Emotional triggers are linked to events, memories, or circumstances that consistently set off emotional reactions within us. Proactively dealing with our triggers is essential to our personal and professional development. If not managed appropriately, emotional triggers can cause stress, discontent, and interpersonal conflict. When we fail to manage our triggers, it can prevent us from having the types of relationships and career success we really want. Our triggers have emotional and physiological intensity levels ranging from almost imperceptible to extremely intense. They also serve as mirrors for our conscious and unconscious intentions, emotions, attitudes, and behaviors. When we learn how to manage our triggers and how we react and respond to them, we create opportunities to live a healthier life for ourselves and others around us. So how does this work? Trigger events are linked to significant emotional experiences. Sometimes we're completely aware of the event and recognize immediately that our thoughts, feelings, and emotions have changed once we've been triggered. Other times, we may find ourselves caught off guard and triggered unexpectedly. Without realizing it, we become preoccupied with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that follow, and find ourselves at the mercy of the original trauma or significant emotional experience it's linked to. Eventually, sooner or later, we recognize that we've been triggered. A key distinction: most of the time, we don't think about what we're thinking about. When we realize we have the ability to observe our thinking and to recognize our unconscious patterns, this becomes the first step towards awakening from our habitual thinking and from powerless and limiting beliefs. It is in these moments that we begin to take our power back. We begin to recognize and identify what's triggering our emotional states. Something I saw, a loud noise, a taste or smell. We begin to realize that a timeline exists between the trigger event and the present moment. We begin to recall our thoughts and actions from the trigger event to the present moment. We begin to see consistent patterns of behavior and emotions from when we've been triggered in the past. We begin to notice that a cycling up of intensity usually occurs when we've been triggered in past events, which last for short or long periods of time. We now realize that by recognizing our triggers faster, we can stop them from cycling up into full-blown episodes of emotional trauma. The result? We experience a feeling of relief and possibility as we continually reinforce our power to interrupt our habitual thinking. The process? When we are fully triggered, we are reliving our real or imagined experiences, as if we were actually inside of them, seeing, hearing, and feeling them. By learning to recognize when we're triggered, we learn how to step outside of the experiences and traumas to an observation point, instead of being caught up within them. When we learn to observe our triggers, we are no longer inside of them. With practice, we learn to shorten the time it takes to recognize when we've been triggered, which in turn shortens our recovery time back to a normal, healthy state. The result? The intensity of our trigger events and the power that they've held over us are easing and shortening, and some have even disappeared entirely. Hours become minutes. Our trigger events and the trauma attached to them are taking up less and less space in our thoughts, our heart space, and our soul. We feel lighter and freer to choose our emotional states, and we begin to live our life with more ease. Minutes become seconds. We are now noticing the gap that exists between our triggers, and that our triggers and the episodes that follow are becoming fewer and farther apart. It is in this gap where the quality of our life resides. This is where your life actually happens. By interrupting the patterns of our triggers, by allowing our episodes to be more shallow in their intensity, and by opening our heart and mind to new and healthy experiences, we can now be fully present to live our lives with an open heart and on our own terms. When our triggers are manageable, our focus turns from managing the intensity of our trigger events to managing the quality of our life. We begin to have a definite sense of possibility, a feeling of being present, awake, alert, thinking clearly, optimistic, symptom-free, and lighthearted. I make it a great day, living life on my own terms. I feel awake, fully present, optimistic, open-hearted, generosity of spirit, joyful. I am inspiring. I want to help others. I am a contribution to the world. I make a difference. I have joy in my life. And this is how we can learn to better manage our triggers and emotional responses. If you can relate to some or all of what we've covered so far, you've come across this introduction for a reason. There's something here to learn that will help you on your way. What has been created is a confidential, personal development approach to dealing with triggers, trauma, and our critical mind. It is self-paced and private, delivered in audiobook form to allow warriors to listen to it in the privacy of their own mind. All of what you'll hear has been developed from real experiences with real warriors. The name of the audiobook? Transitioning Veterans: How We Get in Our Own Way and What to Do About It. Warriors can listen to real solutions to help them in their transition. It's especially helpful for those who have difficulty concentrating or reading due to hypervigilance, PTS, or TBI. Listen to these resources as many times as necessary to internalize them. If this audiobook is helpful to you, pass it along to fellow veterans and their families. To make the most of this, consider picking a battle buddy or a group of veterans you trust and go through this work together. You can listen to the first few segments for free at harvestingwisdom.com. Available on iTunes, Audible, Amazon, and Kindle. When would now be a good time to work on yourself and who you're becoming?